In the 1700s, America was far different than it was today. It wasn't made up of 50 states or home to the famous White House. It was under the control of England and consisted of 13 colonies: New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. All 13 of these colonies were ran and controlled by England under what is called a monarchy, a form of government in which lawmaking power is given to a single person, usually holding such authority by birthright and not merit. During this time period, the colonies depended on England for items of trade and protection in battles. Because of this, they can be considered children, as England acts as a mother taking care of the colonies. As time went on, the colonists began to feel they were not being given enough freedom to do as they liked. Some of the colonists began to rebel against England in hopes of becoming their own country. One of the first rebellions was the Stamp Act in March 22, 1765. The act made by England was to put a heavy tax on stamps. The reason for this taxation was to pay for the lost money funding the French and Indian War. This act can be considered a timeout for the colonists, whom were still considered England's child. The react was sheer anger. A group of colonists hung Andrew Oliver, the man who was in charge for the stamps for Boston, to show their anger towards the act. The first people to begin the rebellions were called the Radicals. They were a group that believed strongly in going against England for their freedom. Soon the Radicals formed a group called the Sons of Liberty. Some of the people involved in this group were Samuel Adams, John Adams, Paul Revere, and Benjamin Franklin. The Sons of Liberty helped to host the rebellions and riots in the Revolution, such as the Boston Tea Party. During this rebellion, they took crates of British tea and threw it into the Boston Harbor to oppose the high prices of tea. Even though these rebellions were showing England how unhappy the colonists were, they didn't really pose a threat because of how many little people were truly willing to fight. The common people of the colonies needed to be given a reason to fight for their freedom from England and grow up. They needed Thomas Paine. Needed to be given a reason to fight for their freedom from England and grow up. They needed Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine was a Quaker born in England on January 29, 1737. As a young man, Thomas went through many failed careers, even as a tax officer. In 1774, he met Benjamin Franklin in London, who helped him emigrate into Philadelphia. There he finally found something he was good at, writing. He took up journalism and shortly after anonymously published Common Sense on January 15, 1776. It was a pamphlet made to encourage and enlighten the common people about rebelling and earning their freedom. Written as the outset of the Revolution, Common Sense became the leaven for the ferment of times. It stirred the colonists to strengthen their resolve, resulting in the first successful anti-colonial action in modern history. Originally, people believed that fellow Son of Liberty, Samuel Adams, had written the rebellious work because of its content. The way Paine wrote was to easily appeal to the people and was easy to read and to the point. There was meant for a rebellion, and the time was now. When I was teaching children, I began every day writing this on the blackboard. Do to others what you would like them to do to you, telling them how much better the world would be if everybody lived by this rule. Thomas Paine, Common Sense. In short, the pamphlet told the colonists that it was time to grow up and become adults, declaring their independence from mother. First and foremost, Common Sense advocated an immediate declaration of independence, postulating a special moral obligation of America to the rest of the world. Not long after the publication, the spirit of Paine's argument found resonance in the American Declaration of Independence. Thomas Paine had sparked the revolution the people needed to become free and independent from England. Common Sense not only attracted the colonists' attention and made them want to rebel, but it sold 120,000 copies in the first 3 months of its publication. The book was obviously widely popular to the crowds and people because of its contents and easily understandable format. By relating to the people, Thomas Paine had accomplished a turning point in the world and the whole cause of the revolution, getting the common people to stand up for themselves and fight for what they believed was theirs. Thomas Paine gave the common people a voice and a reason to stand up and fight. After the publication of Common Sense, the people began to take their stands in joining the forces of the revolution. They went from small activist groups to full soldiers. Almost immediately after the publication of Common Sense, the first version of the American flag was created by Betsy Ross. and then the release of the Declaration of Independence, which was the final proof of the seriousness of the colonists had towards their freedom. These small rebellions turned to one full-out war, resulting in the winning of the colonies' freedom from England, and the colonies finally growing up. Without Thomas Paine's insightful words of encouragement, the spark of independence could have never been created.